This is Rob Tebbutt for Boxing Social in association with Betfred. Delighted to be joined for the first time, might I add, by Savannah Marshall. How are you, Savannah?
I'm good and very well, thank you.
Good stuff. As I said, the first time we've done this. Hopefully not going to be the last. What have you been up to?
Just training, really. Just training. Just getting back on the horse.
How was lockdown for you? So we're going to get all the generic, boring questions out of the way first. I have to ask every fighter this because they're coming off the back of the lockdown. What was it like for you?
Do you know, I'm based in Manchester, but I'm from the northeast. I'm from Harper-Jonas, so I went back home. So it was actually quite nice. Just being around me, was basically like back living with my mum. So it wasn't nice all the time, but you know, it was just nice being around family.
Yeah, I can imagine it is. It's something that I've actually heard from quite a lot of fighters who, you know, obviously yourself, extensive amateur background, and you end up travelling around the world an awful lot. A lot of fighters have actually said, you know what, it's actually been quite nice to be at home with family. So you felt that as well?
Yeah, I did, yeah.
That's great. Okay, well, let's move on. Let's talk about you. You've got yourself a date. Why don't you tell people about that?
Yeah, so before the lockdown, I was due to fight for a world title on April the 4th. Got pulled 2 weeks before, which was devastating. Got moved to June and it's been pushed back till October the 17th. So it's the Newcastle bill, the Ritson bill. So I'm not 100% what's happening, if it's going to be behind closed doors or, you know, limited crowds. Who knows? But all I know that I'm definitely on.
Are you bothered about crowds, no crowds? Obviously, again, speaking to some amateurs, like sometimes you go to the deep, dark depths of Kazakhstan and there's not always a crowd there. Are you bothered by that?
Do you know what? I'm at the point now where I just want to fight. I couldn't care less.
Yeah, that's
would be nice, but I'm not really in a position to be choosy.
Yeah, I think that's generally the feeling among everybody, is that they'd like to box in front of fans, but they just like to box at this point. Go back to, as you mentioned, having your fight pulled a couple of weeks away from that. How frustrating was that?
Well, like I said, it had been pushed back till June. I think it was the 25th. So really, I was ready to go, really. So I just was ticking over, keep my fitness high, and then halfway through lockdown, I just hit that wall, and I just thought, what am I doing this for? Crumbled a little bit, and then obviously I had my sights on October the 17th, and I've had to confirm that is going ahead. So all systems go.
Every fighter always talks about the fact that you need that date to work towards. I'm guessing you're no different then.
No, it makes things realistic.
Okay, well, moving on, let's look back at, as I mentioned to you before we started the interview, women's boxing is absolutely flying at the minute. Seemingly every week we're getting another action-packed card, another action-packed show involving a women's fight that seemingly everybody's talking about. Let's go back and have a look at the show, the women's fights that have been on the fight camp bill, starting off with Terry Harper versus Tasha Jonas. What did you make of that fight, Savannah?
Brilliant, absolutely brilliant. I've known Tash for a long time. I've known Tash since I was about 16. So I know what Tash is capable of. And I actually did a tweet about the day before saying, you know, the best in Tasha Jonas will give Terry Harper big problems, and she did. Do I think the result was unfair? I was leaning towards Tash. But then you could say I'm a bit biased, obviously, because I know I've known Tash for quite a long time. It was a brilliant fight, absolute brilliant fight. Like I said, the run about a rematch, but then it's like, would we see that Tash again? You know, has Terry been found out a little bit? Maybe, but like I said, Tash is world class. I believe Tash is world class, and everyone was just going off that Orbanoff defeat, which it's boxing, isn't it? But yeah, brilliant fight, brilliant. I believe it saved the show.
You mentioned that about Tasha, something that Joe Gallagher obviously spoke about after the fight, the fact that she's 36 and mentioned the Vivian Orbanoff loss, and it's going to be difficult for her to really produce that same performance again, don't you think?
Yeah, because really I was thinking of it from Tash point of view, I was thinking, do you know what? This is Tasha's last roll of the dice. And, do you know, this is a unification fight. And she gave it her all. She really did. And I just think, do you know, sometimes I think when you've had a fight like that, do you think, do I really want to go through that again? Can I really, do you know, want to be in that situation again where when it was rightfully mine, maybe? So who knows? She's a lovely person. She's got a strong personality. So maybe we might be lucky enough to see it again.
Seemed to me a little bit like Terry got drawn into Tasha Jonas's fight a little bit. Tasha was landing some big heavy shots early on in the fight, and it seemed like Terry, to me at least, was dragged into the wrong fight. Would you agree with that?
No, not really. Like I just said there, Tash is world class, and she was very overlooked. So I don't think she was drawn in. I just think she was fighting a world class opponent. That's for me, that's the be all and end all of it. She was fighting, you know, like I said, a world class opponent, and I don't think she was dragged into Tasha's fight. I just think it was, you know, how can you say it without being? I just think she was fighting the best of the best, in my opinion. The best that doesn't have them titles at the end of their name. Do you get me?
I think it's probably worth me pointing out that Tasha made her fight, Tasha's fight. That's kind of where I was going.
Yeah.
Moving on, Shannon Courtney versus Rachel Ball. Again, another fight that had people on one side of the fence and the other side of the fence. Seemingly a theme of women's boxing at the minute. Everybody's talking about the final result. What did you make of that fight?
Do you know, that was the best I've seen Shannon Courtney. I thought she was brilliant. I really did. I thought she's proper adapted the whole booth style. I thought, you know, she done really well. I just believe that knockdown cost her massively. It cost her the fight. I did have Rachel winning by one point. So I don't think you can argue about the result. And I don't personally know Rachel, but what a lovely girl. I seen an interview where I think Shannon had said something like, "Oh, I've been living in her head," and Rachel had said something along the lines of, "Well, I just call that ignorance, because how can you say that and then turn around and say you don't know who I am when there's such a small pool of women in the UK? We should be all supporting each other." And I thought, God, what a comeback. What a comeback. But it's true. It's true. How can you be that ignorant, not knowing who's about it in your weight? But like I said, it was Rachel, another boxer that's never been given, you know, that platform or that chance, and she took up with both hands. So fair play to her.
Yeah, I think her post-fight interview, I think, was probably my favourite interview throughout the whole of Fight Camp.
It was.
She came on camera and just cried for 5 minutes. I'm still watching it myself with tears in my eyes. That's kind of one of the great things about Fight Camp, I think, is, as you mentioned, somebody like a Rachel Ball, or even somebody like a Chris Congo, or there's various other fighters who maybe wouldn't have got that opportunity. Rachel Ball got the opportunity and she really took it.
She did. And like I said, fair play to her. Big things to come for her now. She's everyone knows who she is. You know, she beat the up and coming prospect, didn't she? So brilliant for her.
Final word on that to Shannon Courtney. As you mentioned, she got knocked down in the first round. Quite a heavy knockdown.
Yeah, it was.
Even looking back at it, a really flush left hook. How much credit does she deserve for coming back and forcing the fight? Obviously, it was a very close fight in the end. Some people went one way, some went the other. But how much credit does Shannon deserve for picking herself up and, as you say, in your opinion, delivering her best performance?
Yeah. I thought, you know, that there was still, you can't say she was unlucky to get knocked down, because it was a brilliant shot, and she was there for Rachel to land the shot. But she took it well, and anyone, you know, she's talked about not having the experience is some of the other girls that had turned over pro. But, you know, some people could have took that in that knockdown in the first round and then just folded for the rest of the fight, but she didn't. She come back stronger, and like I said, it was the best Shannon Courtney I've seen.
Yeah, I agree. I thought it was a very good performance. Did think it was a very close fight. I had it the same as you, so I had it 1 point to Rachel Ball. Moving on, just 1 second. People only want to talk to me when I'm doing interviews. That's very, very strange of them. Anyway, this past weekend we saw Katie Taylor, Taylor-Persoon. I feel like every time those two fight, if they fight 100 times, it's always going to be a great fight, and it's always going to be a difficult one to score. How did you see the fight?
I had Persoon 1 point ahead. But I think it's one of them. The clearer, sharper, more eye-catching shots were from Katie, but the volume of shots, landing shots were coming from Persoon. So it's one of them, and I did feel a bit sorry for Persoon because of the scorecards. I thought the fight was a lot closer than what the scorecard said, and I think towards the end, well, in the post-fight interview, I think she must have been at the point where she just thought, you know what can I say? I've been beaten twice. I've been beaten fair and square. What can I say? But I had her winning.
It seems to me like, I mean, and you'd be able to shed some more light on this than I am. Obviously, Katie was a tremendously successful amateur. We've even seen it in the men's game with your Lomachenko's, Golovkin, Usyk. They've kind of got to that era, that stage of their career now where they've had such a long amateur background and they've fought a really high level of opposition as pros as well, that maybe we're starting to see them on the downward slope. Would you say that of Katie Taylor?
No, I don't know, because she's still only, what is she, 35? And I do generally believe that women, and you can see it quite clearly, that I don't think women really come into their peak or the best. Like, look at Tash. Tasha was 36. That was the best performance she's done, for a good few years. And a lot of the world champions are early 30s, mid 30s. So I think women's come into their peak a lot later than men. But I mean, look who she was fighting. That's the worst type of style to fight against. I mean, how do you prepare? How do you get sparring for someone to mimic Taylor-Persoon? It's, there's nothing worse when there's elbows flying in. Someone's that unorthodox that, they're just on top of you. It is tiring. So I don't know. I think we'll see in her next couple of fights when she fights someone, with a bit more not unorthodox, should we say?
You mentioned that. How would you prepare for somebody like Taylor-Persoon?
Yeah.
How would you prepare for a fighter like that, or how to beat somebody like that?
I think to prepare, you're just gonna have to spar 2-on-1, and just have two people, one here, throwing shots at every angle. Like I said, elbows coming in, right up in your grill. I think to prepare for something like that, you've just got to, you've got to be a pro tying up, a pro spinning off, a pro, like I said, frustrating them. I think the main ones, you've just got to be a pro tangling them up and twisting them round. But like I said, doing that for 10 rounds, it is tiring, I can imagine. No wonder Katie is just like, right, no more, no trilogy.
Now, somebody who I would love to see fight, either Katie Taylor or Taylor-Persoon, is somebody that you know very well, Chantel Cameron. I think Chantel Cameron versus Taylor-Persoon would be an absolute war. What do you think to that fight?
Yeah, I agree. It's like two trains going head on, isn't it?
Well, how is Chantel? Obviously, you know Chantel very well. Chantel, like yourself, has been patiently awaiting her shot at a world title. How is she keeping?
To be honest, I haven't seen her. I haven't seen her for quite a while now, just with everything that's been going on. But yeah, I think she's got some big things coming up, and she's done her time. She's waited patiently, as you said. So, fair play to her. She deserves everything that's coming.
Okay, you've been very humble and you've spoken an awful lot about everybody else. So let's talk about you now. October the 17th coming up. Or is it October the 17th?
It is, yeah, 17th.
October the 17th. Sometimes it's one of those days. What type of opponent can we expect to see you in against? Obviously, you're still going to be chasing that world title as and when you can get there. But what can we see in October?
Well, in my opinion, I need a step up. I need a decent step up. Do you know, I need someone who's going to push me, and I need someone that I can say, right, look, I'm on that world level, I'm on that world stage. Do you know, I want to mix it with the best in and around that weight. Like I said, they offered me the light heavy weight, I took it. I'm a natural super middle. Do you know, there's 2 champions who've got 2 belts each that, do you know, I'd love to get in the ring against. So there's, do you know, there's opponents there. Like I said, I haven't got one set in stone at the minute, but just time will tell which one it's going to be. Hopefully, if it's one of them.
You okay there?
Yeah.
Obviously, we've spoken in this interview about how well or how vibrant the women's scene is at the minute. Does that give you that little bit of extra pep in your step, give you a little bit of extra motivation going into October? The fact that it is on such a good, well, that it's doing so well recently?
Oh, 100%. Like, I'd give me left arm to be part of fight camp. I really would have. And just, it's took female boxing to another level. The past month, it really has. So I'm excited to see what the future brings.
Final one, let's talk about Peter Fury. Always very, very interested to hear people's experiences with Peter. Obviously, your trainer. He's been, to be fair, quite active on social media throughout lockdown. I've quite enjoyed seeing Peter's tweets and little bits and pieces that have come out of him. How's he doing?
Yeah, he's well. He's really well. Yeah, he's good. He's good. Well, I'd said to him the other day, I was like, oh, sometimes you tweet things and I think, oh, you must be on the Guinness. Must be on the Guinness. But yeah, he's really well. He's good.
How's it like having somebody like him who is so experienced, has been there, seen it and done it, not just in boxing, but in his life, kind of guiding your career and being there for you?
Yeah, well, Pete was the first person who I really come into contact with when I turned over as a pro. So you could say he's one of the biggest people in my pro career that I trust. And that, for me, in pro boxing is really important. Just having that one person that you know that's got your back. So I know I'm in good hands, yeah, definitely.
Yeah. And of all the people to have your back, it's quite nice that it's Peter Fury. I imagine that's pretty good.
Well, yeah, it is, yeah. Definitely, like you said, he's been there, done it, bought the t-shirt. So there's no better person, I feel, to guide my career, and there's always a plan. Do you know what I mean? He's one of them people where, do you know, say, I don't know, you think of something and you wouldn't think of the ins and outs. You just think, right, I'm going to the shops. But he'd think, right, we're going to the shops, but we're going to go this way because we'll see so-and-so. And then on the way, I don't know, we might pop in Greg's and get a cake before we get this. Do you know what I mean? There's always that little bit of an extra plan to the actual plan, if you get me. That was a crap description, but
I think we understood what you meant, though.
Yeah, it was the first thing that came into my head.
Anytime anyone wants to mention going to Greg's, that's fine with me.
Yeah.
Before I let you go, seemingly the person that you're always going to be linked with until you fight her again, Claressa Shields. You and Claressa Shields, I don't know. I feel like I guess you're probably friends-ish kind of at the minute because you speak so often of each other. When was the last time you spoke to Miss Shields?
Every interview I do, but it's like one of them. You don't. Tyson Fury doesn't do an interview without the Anthony Joshua question. So I don't mind.
Does it bore you?
It's kind of the same answer. So not really. I half expected. What she call herself, the goat, the goat. Yeah. So no, why not? She was a character.
Yeah, characters sell fights as well, and I mean, in all seriousness, it is great that you do have a genuinely big fight there, ready to be made as and when you know the two can come together. So I'd imagine that, while obviously boring, being asked about it in every interview by people like me, is still something good for you to look forward to on the horizon.
Oh yeah, definitely, because it's, you know, that could be made into something massive. you know, just not just because of the rivalry, but because of, you know, who she is. You know, she plays a bit of a baddie, doesn't she? So, you know, it's one of them. It could be made into something really big, and I believe that I'm with the best team to make that happen.
You have to get Peter to teach you about some trash talk.
Yeah, definitely.
Okay, Savannah. Well, thanks very much for speaking to Boxing Social. I really appreciate your time. As I mentioned, it's the first time we've done this. Hopefully not the last. I look forward to seeing you back in action in October. But yeah, thanks very much for speaking to Boxing Social.
Thank you very much, Rob.
Thanks,
Nice
Savannah.
one. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.